What up, Internet? Guardians of the Galaxy opens this weekend, but did you guys know that a young rookie green director named Joss Whedon, you may have heard of him, might have had something to do with the first movie's success? I'm Joe Starr, and this is Screen Junkies News. Today's episode of Screen Junkies News is brought to you by M&M's. $17 million, y'all. That's what Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 has already made in just one night of being in theaters. While it's expected to make at least $150 million this weekend domestically, one possible contributing factor to the success is what we lovingly call the Joss effect. That's right, James Gunn reached out to Joss Whedon with his first Guardian script and received this advice. I like the parts that are James Gunn. Just make it more James Gunn. Here to talk with me about this fantastic advice and some of our other favorite Guardian stories from this week are our own Matt Key and Hal Rudnick.
Oh, yeah, hey Joe,
team.
Thanks for having me on the Guardians Roundup.
Oh man, no place I would rather have you than this Guardians Roundup.
Have you been working with a hosting coach?
Yes, I have been. I've been working on my gestures.
It's
wow.
I need to be more animated. Like it can't just be in the face.
It's good. No, it's very good.
Thank you, guys.
There's a lot of panache.
Thank you. All the panache is on this side of the table.
I thought we were in like the ballet.
Oh, really?
Like, I was like, oh, Joe's going so Bolshoi.
Yeah, I have been doing some Dance 101. It's been nice. It's been nice.
I see cat-like, very, very feline.
Thank you guys are very nice. Thank you guys so much. So before we get into Guardians Roundup, of course, guys, again, a reminder, Guardians of the Galaxy opens this weekend. And as it has worked all week this week, if you say something that interests me, I give you an M&M. Huh?
I'd love a sweet chocolatey treat.
Oh, well then you're gonna have to work for it. Okay, so guys, let's get into this very cool advice that Joss Whedon had for James Gunn. First of all, let's just say how nice it would be if someone would just come up to you ever and just be like, just be more Joe Starr, that's working. Right? Just be more Hal Rudnick, just be more
Whenever I get screenwriting advice, it's always be more like James Gunn.
Yeah.
Someone did tell me, hey, be more like Joe Starr. And I was like, oh, okay.
And so you stopped having any posture in your spine and ceased making eye contact
and started growing a beard. But
a lovely beard.
Thank you very much. You guys are just very sweet today.
But like if Joss Whedon talks and I'm James Gunn, I'm probably going to listen because Joss Whedon really he put his money where his mouth is. Like that Avengers movie was a game changer when it first came out.
Yeah. And that first movie was very Joss. Like, and that's a lot of what made it work was, oh, this is very Joss Whedon. I like that voice and that style, and I'm enjoying this movie.
Yeah, and James Gunn has a track record of so many indie films, Slither, and having a unique vision. And it's like when you bring that unique vision to the film, that's when it sings. And I think when you watch the first and the second film, when it's not going by some kind of paint by numbers script, it's not like, oh, you put this Marvel peg in this Marvel hole. When it feels like, ooh, that was a unique note. That was a little more fun than I'm used to having. That's like the James Gunn effect.
Well, you have an M&M, and I want to read this quote from James Gunn about the story because I do really love this story. I think anyone who's creative can, I think, take something away from this as advice. Joss said, I like the parts that are James Gunn. Just make it more James Gunn. And that's what I did. I was glad he gave me that vote of confidence. I had actually been holding back. I was afraid to make a huge commercial movie, so I had to make it like other movies. I think it's so interesting that even a guy with like as clear a vision and such a confident filmmaker as James Gunn is, there's still that hesitation when you have to make that big leap budget-wise into like a big box office commercial film.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. For some reason, I just thought of like a failure in that regard, which was Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. Like, there wasn't a lot of Tim Burton coming through. Yeah, and Tim Burton was a guy who's like, he's got a distinct voice. But that movie just felt kind of perfunctory by the numbers.
Yeah, that was not a movie full of dead trees.
Yeah. These James Gunn movies, they are box office runaway hits, but they're also, man, darn fun.
Yeah, they're really fun, and they have like all these they have like great characters, and James Gunn is I think he took the advice and ran with it because he's very confidently himself in all of these. Where he's, you know, you have those like just those quirky character turns and like the fact that he made like Baby Groot a baby the whole time. I can't see other directors doing that, you know? So
yeah, when you say quirky character turns, Michael Rooker is cast per James Gunn.
Yeah.
James Gunn's brother is in the movie and does does a surprisingly good job. So there's so much of his stamp on that.
I feel like James Gunn is the perfect balance of what Marvel was looking for because they're, you know, Kevin Feige is the showrunner. You know, no one's going to be an outlier in this machine they have going. So they need someone who can play ball. But it's this great blend. James Gunn knows how to play ball, and he also has figured out how to make these films 100% James Gunn feeling, that's so cool. That's got to be such a hard balance to strike.
Yeah. I was just gonna add like his awesome mixtapes. Like I think that is the most James because James Gunn seems like he was like this like punk rock kid who just loved to sit in his room, just like put the headphones on, turn the record player on, and just just jam out. Like and he brought all of that to both of these films. Like the fact that the sequel is Volume 2 and not like Guardians of the Galaxy and
Uprising of the Flur.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, he has an appreciation.
That's an actual alien race in Marvel.
The Flur.
Yeah.
He's got an appreciation of music in the same way that like a Cameron Crowe or a Quentin Tarantino do, you know? And you said something interesting to me, Joe, in as much as they needed James Gunn to play ball, and then within those parameters, he could have the fun. It makes me think of Edgar Wright. I mean, Edgar Wright walked away or parted ways with Ant-Man, and I guess it's from what you hear, he didn't want to play ball. Peyton Reed played ball, and Ant-Man was super fun. But I'm glad that we were able to have a James Gunn in the MCU. I would have loved to have an Edgar Wright in the MCU,
Yeah, you know, that weird level of compromise isn't necessarily for everybody. But so, according to USA Today, James Gunn has already started writing the third movie. So without spoiling anything from part 2, this is a hard question to ask everyone.
Sure.
Don't say anything about what you saw in the second movie, but what would you like to see from the continuation of that second movie? Without spoiling, evereveryone have a little chocolate M&M.
I'm gonna pull blue. I got blue.
Yeah.
I like blue.
I took 2.
You son of a...
He said 1, Hal. I would love to see a continuation of the story between Gamora and Nebula. Like, I know that there's like a lot of that story in the second film, and I would love to see that taken to like a much larger extreme in the third film. Like, I don't want to, again, like it is spoilery, like I don't want to talk about it too much, but I thought that they developed that really well. And that was actually one of the more surprising things about the second film that I really loved. I went into it, I was like, Gamora and Nebula, okay, cool. But by the end of the film, I was like, oh, I want to know so much more about that relationship now. When I went into the film, more or less like relatively uninterested in it. So I would love to see that.
Yeah, Hal?
I don't really know what to expect, and I wonder, because I love that this was this is basically, without spoiling anything, a standalone Guardians adventure.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, we're doing heavy lifting for the MCU. No, we're just we're exploring these characters. It exposed the characters on a more emotional level than I think we knew them, which was that resonates in having seen the film. Like, you're able to think, oh, wow, it was a rollicking good time, but we also learned a little bit. But so I'm just wondering, okay, is it going to be more standalone, or is it going to do some MCU setup? Because I expect we're seeing, a bunch of Guardians in the Infinity Wars. So, but this will be post-Infinity Wars, right? Yeah. So, I think I would love to see a little bit more MCU in a Guardians movie. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'd like. I don't want to overtake it, but I wouldn't mind if, Thor or Black Widow or anybody, made a little cameo and see how they interact with these characters.
I would be interested if because on one hand, I do want James Gunn to sort of stay the course. I'm glad that we have these two massive Avengers movies coming up that get to be the big, here's everybody showing up. So hopefully, I want James Gunn to be able to sort of stay the course of what he set up for 2 and really just to be able to explore his pocket. That said, I would love it if there was some kind of MCU draft after these major films that really shake things up. And we get something like, in the comics, there's a big shakeup and suddenly Kitty Pryde from the X-Men is a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I would love to see something like Black Widow's in space now, guys. I don't know. Let's see how this goes.
Here comes Iron Man in his like cosmic armor.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to see a big shape up like that and really let James Gunn take one of those characters and explore them on the level that he's been exploring.
You know what I would love to see, and we will never see this. I would love to see Secret Wars brought to the big screen, where like this giant godlike figure named the Beyonder just comes in, kidnaps all of Earth's heroes, throws them on a world with all of Earth's villains, and says fight.
Well, I mean, never say never.
See that so bad.
Never say never, because we didn't think any of these movies were going to be on the big screen.
It's a good point.
And if anyone can handle a guy in casual 80s wear and a mullet throwing all of Earth's heroes into a battle, it's definitely James Gunn.
That is true.
Let's move on to another really kind of fun story that resurfaced this week. Less of a story, more of an urban legend. Walt Disney's last rumored words that he wrote before he died. What were they?
Well, word on the street is that it was those words, 2 little words, Kurt Russell.
Oh, 2 little words with so much meaning.
So much resonance.
Oh, thank you.
So
Ooh,
much resonance. Yeah. Oh, you got a red one? That's sweet. Yeah, so when Disney died in 66, well, actually, Key, you're a little more familiar with this story. Fill us in.
So when Disney was dead in 66, he was found dead in 66, there was a piece of paper on his desk, and presumably the only piece of paper on his desk, and the last words written on that piece of paper were Kurt Russell in quotes.
And now we are assuming that that's because he was maybe wanting to develop a project with Kurt Russell, and this wasn't hopefully the detectives find this note.
Yeah, Kurt Russell killed me. It wasn't that. Yeah,
it was Russell.
It was Russell the whole time.
It was this child. It was this amazing child.
Yeah, how old was he back then?
Yeah, he was a child actor.
He was a child actor, and he was by, I mean, this is according to Kurt Russell, he was one of Walt Disney's favorite child actors at the time. Disney was always coming to him like with different ideas.
Anyone else I would call BS. Like, oh, it was Walt's favorite, but Kurt Russell, I'll buy it. Yeah.
But apparently, like according to Russell, in a biography that someone wrote about Walt Disney, I can't remember the name or the authors, but they wrote this biography about him. And Kurt Russell was like, yeah, he would come to me and ask me various questions about some of the upcoming film projects that he was doing, because he was trying to tap into that like young mind, because he's an older guy. He's a grandfather, at that point. But
it's like a weird Wonka experiment. That's why I came to you, Kurt.
Yeah, in fact, I think
it's
Kurt
all
Russell,
yours.
It's all yours.
I think Kurt Russell even referred to him as a bit of like a Willy Wonka kind of character at the time. So he would talk to him about it, and I think Walt Disney, or the legend is that Walt Disney wanted to sign him for like a sort of like exclusive picture deal for a while, as like their go-to child actor, basically. Which is why they presumed that the Kurt Russell is written on it.
Yeah.
So
it was his vision board.
Yeah.
Just a Kurt Russell posted on his vision board.
Chicago Sun Tribune, I want to say, or maybe HuffPost, one of those two, asked James Gunn what he knew about it, and he was like, "Well, it isn't exactly a true story. That was the last thing Disney wrote in his office. So it wasn't his last words. But he wasn't on his deathbed going, Kurt Russell. And he didn't go, Kurt Russell. But he was in his office, wrote Kurt Russell, was like, I'm done for the day. I'm going to go home. And then he
expired.
Then he expired. Yes. How cool, though, would it have been to find out that writing down Kurt Russell unleashes some sort of power? Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh, no.
Although this would be maybe the most attractive version of The Ring.
Oh my God! I got an Eminem for writing Kurt Russell.
Absolutely.
Matt likes to test fate. He'll go home and like say Bloody Mary in the mirror.
In 7 days, Kurt Russell's gonna crawl out of a well with his 80s mullet, like.
But then like real life Kurt Russell's gonna show up and shoot fake Kurt Russell from the wall.
Either way, you're gonna have a cool day, is what I'm saying. So
Kurt Russell is, by the way, he is box office gold right now.
Yeah.
Fate of the Furious, Guardians,
as he should be,
as he should be.
So, Hal, this is an urban legend. What are some other urban legends of Walt Disney's final words?
Oh, well, previous to this story, I thought his final words were, "It's cold in this cryo freeze."
And then his assistant's just like, what were you expecting, Walt?
It's cryogenics, Walt.
Come on, Walt.
Bring me my cardigan.
I completely understand Kurt Russell being someone's last words. I think mine might be Winona Ryder or Patrick Swayze. What actor is going to be your last words?
Ooh, probably Kurt Russell.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm just going to say Kurt Russell.
I get it. Tombstone's a great movie.
Here, I'll show you my death scene. Tommy Wiseau.
Oh, Hal. We're gonna get you the help. We're gonna get you the help you need.
Thank you.
Someday. I promise. As soon as Screen Junkies starts offering health insurance, we're gonna get you fixed.
I'll probably
Thank
say like
you.
an anagram of Benedict Cumberbatch.
I like that. I also want to see that anagram. Internet, tweet us that anagram. I like that. Okay, so let's move on to our next story. We got some Rocket Raccoon sightings on the shoots for Infinity War. What can you tell us on the scene, Matt Key?
So Zoe Saldana, as you know, said that the first meeting that they have with the Guardians, or the Guardians with the Avengers, is in space. And we were all like, oh, they meet in space. Does that mean the Guardians don't come to Earth at all? Which seems like a, kind of a missed opportunity, but whatever. Well, now some intrepid fans in Scotland have posted pictures on Twitter of the furry stand-in that they use to like frame shots and light shots and stuff.
He looks like he's in the Rockafire explosion. He looks like he's about to wish a kid a happy birthday, and then like they're going to do a
Chuck
song
E.
about
Cheese
pizza.
band?
Yeah.
And then start
Be like, happy birthday, Tommy.
keyboard, playing the keyboard. This is how we play the keyboard. Yeah, so they that's not the picture from Twitter because we can't. That's not.
Oh, it's an unauthorized image.
It's an unauthorized image. Go find it on Twitter, guys.
Hey, Matt, you're you know a lot about comics and whatnot. How much you think that thing would fetch on eBay?
The furry stand?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have a gold hologram cover, so maybe not a lot.
Yeah, it's not a lenticular cover, so I don't know.
It's no Death of Superman.
Number one still in the bag.
Yeah, still in the
it's
bag.
not that. I don't know. Probably at least like 500.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Easy money. You're gonna put your kids through college.
$20. So that's not the picture, but there are pictures of Rocket in a church in Scotland. Ooh. So I think the church Durham Cathedral in Scotland, and it's just a picture of him kind of like up by the altar.
Didn't know Rocket was Catholic.
I had no idea
Apparently,
either.
yeah.
He's up there doing his rosary.
That's interesting.
Good on him.
Yeah, good on him.
Thanos is in. He's like, oh, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary.
Real talk, if there is a weird B plot in this giant popcorn movie of Rocket just becoming a Catholic, I'm so into that.
You know what?
I'm so weirdly into that.
In Guardians, did you say it was Infinity Wars or Guardians 3?
This is Infinity War.
Infinity
Guardians,
Wars.
the script isn't even done for Guardians 3.
Gotcha, yeah. It would be enjoyable to see, since Groot is going to be going through his adolescence, perhaps, from baby, it would only make sense. Maybe I'd love to see him get bar mitzvahed.
Love that as well.
Bar mitzvah in a Catholic church.
I love just giant final apocalyptic battle. Cut away
to Groot reading the Torah.
Yeah,
but all I can say is
love this.
I would love that.
I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot.
I'm Groot.
I am Groot.
Today you're a man.
Today
I am Groot. You're right.
tree.
It is a myth. So a little more Rocket Raccoon news to wrap us up. I absolutely love this story. There's some very happy news about the man who created Rocket Raccoon, Bill Mantlo. Matt, can you fill us in on that?
A little bit. Yeah, this is actually a story that is like, not to be like vulnerable or whatever, but like it is like very like meaningful to my wife and me. My wife Brittany is a gigantic fan of Rocket Raccoon, and when we found out Bill Mantlo's story, we reached out and found ways to like donate to his cause and everything. So, but Bill Mantlo created Rocket Raccoon. Marvel preview number 7. I can't remember the exact date of it, but he was like a fill-in guy at Marvel. He'd always wanted to be a writer there. He was their fill-in guy. He finally gets his chance and just keeps going. And it got to a place where he was writing like 8 or 9 titles a month, just filling in for other writers who were missing deadlines or whatever. But decided he wanted to do something a little bit more with his life, a little more meaningful. So he started going, he was working at Marvel in the day, writing those stories, going to law school at night, and finally graduated in '87 with his law degree, became a public defender in New York. Started gaining a reputation with prosecutors as someone that they hated because he was defending the defenseless. He was like an original daredevil. But then in 1992, he took up the inline skating. I can't remember what that's called. Rollerblading. Thank you. He took up rollerblading.
I do like that this was your rollerblade.
Yeah, like I turned into Tron when I'm a rollerblader. But in 1992 was in a hit and run. Where the car smacked him, his head hit the windshield.
Oh, boy.
He had, I wrote it down here, closed head traumatic brain injury, and he never recovered from it. So since 1992, he has had irreparable brain damage. So this brilliant creative mind who gave us Rocket Raccoon, he also gave us Cloak and Dagger, as well as like writing for 5 years on The Incredible Hulk and all this other stuff, is now all of a sudden out. Of commission, and he can no longer work in law and everything. He can't get out of bed. So his brother Mike took over care for him and has been caring for him ever since. However, the news here is that because Marvel was able to negotiate to pay him for the rights to the character, which, by the way, they own the character. Yeah. They don't have to do that. But and thanks of here's money for creating it. Thank you. It's the right thing to do because we're making money off of your creation. He can now, for the first time since 1995, leave that hospice and move into a home.
That's really amazing.
It's the first time since 1995 his brother used the money to build him a house specific to his health needs, and for the rest of his life he'll have the money for a nurse to come by, care for him.
That's an incredible story.
And it's right next door to his brother, so his brother can just pop over. Hey, Bill, how
That's
are
incredible.
you?
Yeah, good news indeed.
Creator rights have been such a huge, especially as these movies have started taking off. Creator rights are the reason why all of Marvel's top guns in the 90s left and formed Image. There were so many issues around, who owns what. I put Venom on the page for you, but it's yours, that kind of thing. And especially as these movies have taken off, where's my cut? Is absolutely a right question to be able to ask, and it has been a sort of a hotbed topic because like you said, Marvel corporate doesn't have to do this, but it's the right thing to do.
Especially, it's not just the movies. There's just the cottage industry of the merchandise, which. Oh my goodness, that's got to be like the GDP of a small nation.
Oh yeah, God yeah.
Just on Rocket Raccoon alone.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about the Rocket character is he was very much like he is in the movies and in the current comic books as he was when Bill Mantlo created him. A lot of the characters kind of changed through the years, and Rocket has a little bit.
Yeah,
but he was even British, I think. But
even at his inception, he was kind of a hard drinking weapons expert, like foul mouth, sarcastic guy, and that's exactly who he still is. So
I've read a lot in this where it's like people go, well, maybe they should have put that in their contract or whatever and stop. But it's like, imagine you finally have your chance at your dream job, and you're not going to be the guy that tries to rock the boat and be like, Rocket's mine, So I'm really glad that Disney Marvel has stepped up. And Warner Brothers has with a lot of DC characters as well. Let's give them a shout out too. And been taking care of the people that brought these characters to life. That's a nice story to end on. Yeah. Guys, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just hope the guy who created Killer Croc finally gets his due.
Absolutely.
That makes no sense. Yeah. I'm sure he got his due. I don't know.
It's fun. One of my favorite lines in the Lego Batman movie was Killer Croc going, "I did something." It's like, best movie ever. No final thoughts. Go to BillMantlo.com if you want to contribute to his cause. It's, just give like $10 and be like, hey, thanks for your creation.
Right on. And I'm looking forward to the day where we can all die and gasp Kurt Russell as a pen dramatically falls from our hands. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Internet, we want to know. How are you guys feeling about Gardens this weekend? Are you exciting? Did it exceed expectations? Did it let you down? Who are your favorite creators in the comic sphere? We want to know. Share some love for the people that created Rocket Raccoon, for the people that created Venom, Carnage, all of these characters that we know and love. Let's have just a love fest for these people in the comments below. And remember, Dalton's #1 rule, be nice. Click around here for more internet videos. Tweet at us at SJ News and make sure to subscribe. Big thanks to M&M for sponsoring this episode. We'll see you guys later. Make good choices.